What is the hardest Pokemon challenge? Beating a difficult Nuzlocke, getting a speedrun record, becoming the world champion, or winning the lottery? Kaizo Ironmon is one massive gamble. It is a Pokemon challenge that takes randomization to the extreme, to the point where it doesn't even feel like you're playing Pokemon anymore. Anything you think you know about these creatures, you might as well throw out the window, as this challenge randomizes everything from your starter choices to their base stat totals to the moves that they learn. Just about everything in this challenge is completely and utterly random. And somehow, that has earned it the title of the hardest Pokemon challenge. But what exactly makes this challenge hard? There are countless random elements on top of an endless amount of self-imposed rules, and you have to overcome it all with only a single Pokemon. Oh, and if this Pokemon faints at any point, that's it. You restart and try again. The challenge is designed to take thousands of hours and resets until you find that one perfect Pokemon. So let me introduce you to attempt 969, the perfect run. Starter selection is an essential starting point in almost every challenge run, but not in Kaizo Ironmon. You're forced to pick your random starter Pokemon at random, assuming that it's not a legendary or has a BST of 600 or higher. Why not just set the threshold to the lowest BST legendaries? Who knows? That's for past me to rant about. Attempt 969 gifts me with Dat-Dact-6 for my starter. An Aerodactyl from a long lineage of powerful beasts, but none would quite live up to the legend himself. Adamant nature, amazing stat spread, fantastic moves. Well, move. And the icing on top of it all, Compound Eyes. An ability that increases moves accuracy by 30%, meaning I could now fire off the best rock-type move in the entire game with 100% accuracy. Dat-Dact-6 certainly has winner plastered all over his tiny gray forehead. The attack stat isn't a nuclear threat, but stab rock slides and an adamant nature should be able to mask that. The real saving grace is how low the special attack is, meaning that virtually every stat point is aiding this run to victory. Our rival, Alpharad, takes Camerupt, and despite the 50% level increase given to all opposing Pokemon, Dat-Dact-6 manages to make it out of the lab with ease. 60% of the attempts ended right here in the lab, but Dat-Dact-6, he's different. It's off to Viridian Forest to take on another well-known run killer, Bug Catcher Rick. Or should I say cool trainer female Anne? Because for some reason we needed to randomize those two. Okay, I wanted to keep the rants contained in the first Ironmon video, but like randomizing trainer classes and names takes away so much of the charm. Where's the common bonding over trainers like Birdkeeper Billy? Do you know how great it is to make fun of people who wipe to Birdkeeper Billy? Sorry, I'll try to keep it under wraps for the rest of the video. With the demon that is Bug Catcher Rick now out of the way, Dat-Dact-6 just clicks Rock Slide a bunch of times and Viridian Forest is fully cleared out. But this is where the challenge is truly made. Gyms are do or die. You are forced to knock out every single trainer, and there is no leaving for any reason. No going back to the Pokemon Center to heal, no healing outside of battle, and no held items. Except for consumables like berries and herbs. Not to mention, boss trainers like Brock here all have an additional 3 Pokemon that you'll have to face. One shot to clear out all the Pokemon inside. Sounds like a daunting task, and then you actually look at the gameplay. Well, he did it! Gyms are a great opportunity to strengthen up your Pokemon, as the only TMs that you're allowed to learn are those obtained from defeating the leaders. Rock Slide will carry most of the run, but I'm not sure if Karate Chop and Swift will play second fiddle all too well. So it would be worth getting an additional fantastic move like Drill Peck, Shadow Ball, or Earthquake to really solidify this Pokemon's chances of going the distance. Brock gives me Rock Throw, which I'd likely pass on anyways, but the game prevents me from doing so, as there's only a 50% chance that it'd be able to learn the TM in the first place. Brock is immediately followed up by this game's first dungeon, Mount Moon. Dungeons are a perfect litmus test to find out if your Pokemon is in that elite tier needed to beat the challenge. They are similar to gyms in that once you enter, you're not allowed to exit, but differ in that you don't have to fight every trainer inside before leaving. However, you're highly incentivized to do so because each trainer is valuable experience that would be missed out on otherwise. Oh, I did forget to mention that grinding on wild Pokemon is banned, so you can forget about just boosting up to level 100 and sweeping through the game with a single move. You'll just be level 70 sweeping through the game with a single move. Dat 6 proves that he belongs in the elite club of Pokemon by fully clearing out all of Mount Moon and picking up some beneficial heals in addition to an incredibly valuable rare candy. An item that can make or break the Elite Four, so I'll definitely be holding on to that one until much later in the run. If you haven't noticed by now, all of the floor items in this game are also completely random, so our good friend here could only get carried as far as the item luck will take him. So far, the outlook is quite good. Exiting Mount Moon has us face to face with our rival, and after making light work of him and his camera Camerupt yet again, it is time for a short grind section before Misty. If you look closely, you'll notice that Dat 6 has already learned 5 of the 7 moves in his learn set, and none of them have been worthy of replacing what I currently have. Sure, they're not necessarily bad, but I wouldn't call them good either. This is truly a test to see just how far a single move can carry a run. With the last of the available trainers cleared out, it was time to take on Misty. This fight is completely free as you're almost always about 20 levels higher than all of her Pokemon, but more importantly, I will have an opportunity to learn 2 new moves as I make my way through the gym. My level up move is Future Sight, which is a bad enough move on its own, let alone with only 31 special attack to my name. That left the TM from Misty, which is Recycle. Any Emerald Kaizo veteran will immediately identify the massive value that this move can have, and with the only held items allowed being consumables, this now means that I have an infinite amount of berries and herbs at my disposal. You might guess that somewhere deep within the pages of restrictions that Recycle would be banned, because the thought of infinite berries would make this challenge far too trivial. Well, surprisingly, you'd be wrong. Somehow this incredible move slipped through the cracks, so while moves like Absorb and Leech Life are banned for being oh so powerful, I'm free to recycle away. The only problem is that I need to find some good berries first. I opt to hold on to Poison Powder for now and wait until I get into some of the later game dungeons where Recycle will really start to shine. So let's hope I don't die before then. In the meantime, I will keep my eyes peeled for any Lum or Lepa berries that will truly make this a game-breaking move. White herbs as well have significantly more value when I can recycle them back, especially considering that being a physical attacker leaves me vulnerable to any potential Intimidate Pokemon.
Speaking of consumables, let me tell you about some of my favorite things to consume. Thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co for sponsoring this video. I love Japan, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this video do as well, which is why I'm excited to show off these amazing Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co boxes that can bring a little taste of Japan straight to your doorstep. Now you can experience Japan from the comfort of your own home. Both boxes deliver their own unique flavors. Tokyo Treat is a fun and exclusive Japanese snack box featuring incredible flavors from all around Japan. Each box is filled with a variety of fun Japanese snack items like limited edition Kit Kats, unique flavored Japanese chips, and more. Each month has its own special theme, and for this month, it's all about Halloween. In Tokyo Treat's Snacktastic Halloween box, you can enjoy both sweet and savory Halloween-inspired snacks that are sure to capture the thrill and excitement of Japan's haunted holiday, like these apple pie Kit Kats, ghost gummies, or much more. Not to mention, if you use code Peekaboo, you can receive additional Pokemon bonus items in your first box like this Pikachu plush or fun figure collection. Both boxes even include informational booklets that tell you all about each of the individual treats, as well as interesting cultural information related to a given month's theme. But wait, there's more! Sakura Co is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that supports local Japanese snack makers. Each box comes with 20 traditional, authentic, and artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese teas and a special Japanese tableware. Sakura Co's Colors of Kyoto box invites you to experience Kyoto's rich fall delicacies where seasonal flavors and cultural heritage come together. These boxes are filled with so much that I couldn't even try it all within one sitting. I wanted to savor my remaining snacks like this Kitsune Senbei with the special Gyotsuijiri Sencha from Kyoto. So I pulled out the beautiful exclusive Japanese teacup that was included in my Sakura Sakura Co box and enjoyed my delicious tea alongside my Kitsune Senbei as well as a matcha cream roll cookie. Click on my link in the description to grab yourself a box or send it to a loved one so we can share that Japanese experience from the comfort of our homes. Use my code CaptainKid for $5 off your first box. Thanks again to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co for sponsoring this video. The game's next dungeon, SSN, gives me a few more opportunities to look for these run-altering items as well as pick up some valuable experience along the way. Or at least it should be. The rival fight is no issue whatsoever, but in my attempt to full clear the dungeon, Dat6 gets poisoned by a synchronized Sableye and is chunked to just 16 HP. That is not enough HP to get me off of the ship and safely to the Vermilion Pokemon Center, so I have to enter another battle and eat into my growing horde of healing items in the hope that I'll leave this fight with enough HP to make it out alive. I squeeze by with 28 HP, and that is just enough to escape the SSN and get nursed back to full health. You're probably wondering why I didn't just use the free heal a couple of rooms down, but that's because any free forms of healing within dungeons like this are, of course, banned. Fortunately, I only missed out on a few trainers worth of experience, and I was running low on Rock Slide PP, which is what caused me to get poisoned in the first place, so I was already close to bailing out of there. It still hasn't quite dawned on me just how good of a Pokemon this could be yet. Dat6 has the chance to be the one, so I need to start treating it as such. I used the newly acquired Cut HM to gather up the last little bit of EXP from the trainers on Route 9 before taking on Surge, who is a complete pushover. Once again, this gym gives me the opportunity for 2 new moves, and the level 50 pound wasn't quite moving the needle, but maybe Surge will gift us with something incredible just like Misty. Well, a man can dream. This will be my moveset for the entirety of the mid-game grind, which is just a nice way of saying the next hour of mindless A-button mashing. Dat6 will clear out each and every Pokemon on each and every trainer on all of these routes. By the time I'm ready to face Erica, Dat6 will have gained over 20 levels worth of experience. In order to open up these routes, I first have to take care of the 2 big loafing bears blocking my way, so I clear out both Rocket Hideout and Pokemon Tower to gain access to the Poke Flute that will clear the roadblocks and open up the grind. Luckily for me, I finally gained one of those run-breaking berries in Pokemon Tower. Securing a Lumberry means that I now have a full heal that will proc the moment that I get status, so I decide that it is finally time to teach Dat6 its secret weapon. And all I have to do is spend a turn clicking Recycle to get it right back. Something I have a lot of experience with. In theory, I have an infinite number of status heals. Now if I could just find a Lepa Berry. This section of grinding is designed to scout for threats that could potentially pose problems later in the run, which for Dat6 includes Jirachi, Groudon, Counter Nidoqueen, and... Great, not you again. This thing still has Slack Off, and now it has Flame Body. Fantastic. The common thread here being that all of these Pokemon resist rock and have very high defense. Groudon in particular is the scariest, as it also boasts a setup move, so if this thing has any physical attack whatsoever, Dat6 is as good as dead. Let's just hope that none of these show up during the Elite Four like last time. Another thing that's worth mentioning is the absolutely insane luck I got on these step item pulls in the underground path from Route 8 to Route 7, where I picked up an energy root, lemonade, and a rare candy. By far the best batch of items that I've ever pulled here. One-hit KOs will be harder to come by for Dat6 as his attack stat is not astronomically high, so having an abundance of heals will be crucial to his success. By the end of the mid-game grind, I had tallied up a near limitless supply of healing items. Oh, and this PP Max is pretty dope too. With the unbelievably lucky grind finished, it was time to shift my focus back to the actual battling part of this run. Okay, maybe after Erica because we're like 40 levels higher than her team at this point. Hardest Pokemon challenge, by the way! Since just about every non-swimming trainer has been cleared out, I have nobody left to fight until after I gain the ability to surf. So Erica and Koga will be done back to back. Koga, in theory, should be a leap in difficulty as the level gap shrinks and his gym is host to 20 Pokemon, which dwarfs anything else up to this point.
For Dat Deck 6 though, that's just 20 Pokemon that are about to get rock slid into their graves. Are you starting to see how broken this whole Compound Eyes Rock Slide combo is? Koga's gym ended up being even easier than Erica's, mainly thanks to my incredibly skillful flinches. Really wasted an opportunity by not booking it immediately to the casino after I was blessed with Dat Deck 6. Both of the TMs that I was handed were completely useless. If only this one had been returned. The most important tool I gained was actually Koga's Soul Badge, as this gives a 10% boost to my defense stat. In case you weren't aware, up until Generation 3, each odd-numbered gym badge gives a badge boost to a certain stat. With 5 of the 8 gym badges acquired, I had attained all of the boosts except for one. That's right, just one, the special stat. For those of you born in a post-Y2K world, you might not know that in Generation 1, the special attack and defense stats were actually combined into one. This is part of what made Pokemon like Mewtwo or Alakazam such massive threats. This means that once we obtain the final odd-numbered badge by defeating Blaine, we will get a 10% boost to both our special attack and special defense, making the Volcano badge the most valuable of them all. But for Dat Deck 6, maybe this isn't the case. The reason this matters is because now I have a decision to make. I can either surf to Cinnabar Island to take on Blaine, or tackle the largest dungeon in all of Kaizo Ironmon, Silph Co. With a special attacking Pokemon, this decision would be a no-brainer. You will almost always want to do Blaine first, as the 10% boost to your attacking stat will be instrumental in maximizing your chances to full clear Silph Co. But for Dat Deck 6, he's had that luxury all the way since the beginning, and special defense is already his highest stat. I ultimately decided with the Blaine route, as this also gave me a chance to learn a new move that could potentially make the Silph Co full clear even easier. Was I rewarded for my decision? Kind of? Like Blaine says, Dig is the ultimate technique, and one that Dat Deck 6 can actually learn. Despite Dig being much needed ground type coverage for some of the most threatening Pokemon, the resourcefulness of Recycle is still far too useful to justify replacing, especially with a massive gauntlet right around the corner. Dig would have its time to shine, but for now, I knew that Recycle was the play. Silph Co is the pinnacle of the Kaizo Ironmon challenge. All of the praise that is often levied towards this challenge is somewhat vindicated here. Resource management is finally put to the test as you run an 11-floor gauntlet against 32 different trainers totaling nearly 100 Pokemon. Sure, you'll be as much as 40 levels higher than a lot of these mons, but that's still potentially hundreds of PP required to escape from this skyscraper. Now just imagine how trivial this would all be if I could find one of those Lepa berries. This is where the challenge peaks. So it's so sad that only a fraction of the Pokemon actually make it to this point. First things first, I immediately take on my rival and the Rocket Grunt guarding Giovanni. There are only 3 required fights to clear out Silph Co, but it's important not to do Giovanni until every last trainer has been cleared out, because unlike Rocket Hideout, once defeated, the whole operation is kaput, and all of the Team Rocket Grunts left inside quickly skedaddle. Both fights are a piece of cake for Dat Deck 6, so I move into phase 2 of my Silph Co plan, Item Rescue. Yes, there are many terrified civilians scattered throughout the building, but the only thing I care about rescuing right now are some berries and herbs. I honestly have more than enough healing this run, which is something you will almost never hear someone complain about in a Kaizo Ironmon run. Battle items are also an incredibly valuable resource, so I wouldn't mind grabbing a few more of those, but with Recycle, I'm really just scouring about for items that can take advantage of my broken move. Silph Co is really the Hail Mary for good item pulls, as after this, we will have picked up almost every single item in the Kanto region. I comb through each floor looking for these items, but it's to no avail. A single X speed and a PP Max were the only 2 standouts, and yes, I know PP Max is an amazing item in this challenge, but this would have meant an infinite amount of PP, so you can understand my disappointment when I went through the entire run without seeing even one. It's crazy how good Recycle has been for Dat Deck 6, despite never picking up arguably 2 of the best 3 items that make this move so broken in the first place. Overall, probably my worst ever Silph Co batch, as out of 26 items, only 2 were usable. But look, I don't think I'm in any position to complain about item luck at this point. The third and final phase of Silph Co is Grunt Expulsion. I head back down to floor 2 and methodically work my way back up, defeating each and every single trainer, using any and all PP healing items to ensure that the full clear is achieved. With 4 max elixirs plus recycle lumberry at my disposal, Dax 6 was practically invincible and faultlessly dismantled floor after floor of grunts and evil scientists until we were face to face with the big bad boss himself, Giovanni, who, fun fact, doesn't even have smart AI in this fight. Needless to say, this was another clean sweep from the prehistoric pterosaur. Feel like the Ironmon police might try to get Recycle banned after this run. But hey, I'm never touching this challenge again, so be my guest. With that, Sabrina's gym has opened up, and as you might assume, having already beaten the theoretically more difficult Blaine gym, this one is a walk in the park. You might say that this battle was so boring, it put me to sleep. Before taking on the 8th and final gym leader of the challenge, it is time to do a little bit of Kanto cleanup. Now that we've taken down all of the big threats and are at a high enough level, it's time to clear out all of the remaining double battles nice and easy, just for a tad bit of extra experience.
Okay, I have a Machamp spamming Destiny Bond, so I gotta be chill real quick. Am I slower? I'm gonna click recycle just to see if I'm slower. Okay, I'm still faster, dude. Okay, bro, I almost just wiped to some random double battle Machamp. That was so scary.
It happens, man.
He had like the perfect set to make sure that I just could die.
How is it that the only 2 instances of almost losing the run have been in the most absurd ways? Luckily, now there's nothing left standing in my way as I march into the final gym of the game. Giovanni's gym, from my experience, is the second biggest potential gym wipe outside of Brock's. Koga is a lot of bark with no bite. Giovanni's gym, on the other hand, is filled with trainers sporting high-level teams, and these ones know how to use them. It was time to find out if Dax 6 had what it took to try its hands at the Elite Four. The cracks in the armor were finally starting to show themselves here. Closing the level gap meant that Okos were getting harder and harder to come by, highlighting the relatively low attack stat for a Pokemon that has made it this far. But as they say, when there's a flinch, there's a way. Dax 6 continued firing off Rock Slide after Rock Slide before finding himself at level 89. In Kaizo Ironmon, every single Pokemon is set to the fluctuating EXP curve, so it takes significantly more experience to level up on the odd levels compared to the even ones. Meaning that level 89 is one of the best possible levels that I could use a rare candy on. I ended up with a total of 3 throughout my journey, so there is no better time than the present to take our first bite. With the additional level, Dax 6 waltzes his way to yet another clean gym leader sweep. TM26 would be my last hope at getting one final amazing move to complement our handy Rock Slide. Please, Shadow Ball, Drill Peck, Earthquake, something! Well, this is useless. Once again, I had a Pokemon in my hands who had made a mockery of the challenge up to this point. But could this one buck the trend and send us into the Hall of Fame and free us from the hell that is Kaizo Ironmon? There's only one required fight standing between me and the Elite Four, and this time, Rich Boy Alpha wasn't pulling any punches. He brought out every legendary you could imagine and nearly ended it all with a leech seeding Suicune. But Dax 6 and his treasure trove of items are too powerful for even that to stop him. All that remains is Victory Road, which sounds like the ultimate final destination for the last dungeon in the game, but in reality is incredibly underwhelming. There are 0 required trainers that you have to fight. Keyword have to fight. There is 1 trainer guarding a single item, but the odds of that item being something worthwhile certainly don't outweigh the risk of fighting him and losing the entire run, right? Look, I hadn't come all this way to be scared of a little cool trainer now. Heck, I'm not even stopping there. 1 full heal is not enough to satisfy me. I crave experience. I will do what no other Kaizo Ironmon runner has the gall to do and fight as many trainers as necessary to reach level 92 without using my final candies. I am banking it all on this being the winning lottery ticket, an infallible run that I could never throw away even with this rash decision making. And Dax 6 would not be stopped. He rolled over these measly Victory Road trainers, claiming each and every bit of experience in order to reach his true final form. It was time to pull out all the stops. The Indigo Plateau wasn't pulling punches, so neither will I. Recycle had served us well, but it was finally time to pull out the ultimate technique, dig. Because God knows we're bound to find at least one of those threats lurking behind those doors. Finally, I popped the final 2 rare candies, and that's it. There is nothing left to do now, so we make our way to the final 5 fights of Kaizo Ironmon. Lorelei greets us at the front lines and hopes to stop Dat-Dak-6 dead in his tracks. She lands a few feeble scratches, but nothing that we can't handle. He takes care of business and makes his way to Bruno, the fight where everything went wrong last time. Just like with Porygon 2, his lead Mon is a complete and utter pushover that puts up 0 resistance in the face of Compound Eye's Rock Slide. A Flame Body Rhydon immediately poses some potential issues, but thankfully our well-loved Lumberry came to the rescue one final time to cure our burn, allowing Dat-Dak-6 to deliver a finishing chop on a Rhydon that nearly ended the run with Meteor Mash. You served us well, Lumberry. You will be missed. What happens next is almost more frightening as I'm backed into a corner and forced to heal on a Pokemon I know nothing about. With 4 Pokemon still remaining in the back, Bruno can easily end my run if his Gardevoir breaks out into song. Fortunately, we end up getting the best case scenario. His Gardevoir converts into a measly bug that Dat-Dak-6 promptly squashes. Bruno better change his name to Aaron because he can't help but throw out bug after bug for Dat-Dak-6 to stomp into the ground. And with that, I was officially on my best run ever. This was my perfect chance to win, as long as we keep avoiding one of them. Agatha was up next. How would she follow up such an embarrassing performance from Bruno? Her incredibly bulky Victory Bell puts up some resistance, but it is ultimately futile. She decides it's time to throw out the big guns, but I had come prepared. The ultimate technique is the perfect counter to her detect spamming Raikou, and with that, she was all out of answers. Her wall of an ace was quite the nuisance, but our persistence ultimately caused it to crumble. She had one last gasp to chunk our HP down, but Dat-Dak-6 always finds a way to come out on top. Just one Elite Four member left. Lance immediately lets us know that he means business, throwing out a major thorn in my side, Flygon. The pesky dragon has extremely high defense, which seemingly every ground type does. Even worse, it has now learned Thunder Shock, so I will constantly be dodging Paralysis as I try to whittle it down. And with my infinite Lumberries now depleted, there were only so many status conditions I could afford to take. I decided it's best to use some of my battle items here, as trying to break through without any boosts would cost me even more resources. There are only 2 fights left. No reason to hold on to anything now. After finally breaking down the Flygon, Lance sends out yet another one of this seed's bulkiest Mons, Executor. Threatening to put me to sleep, I hope for a Rock Slide flinch, but it dodges it and fires off a Grass Whistle. But Dat-Dak-6 cannot be stopped. One more Rock Slide finishes him off as I start to think that surely there are no more bulky monsters that he can throw at me, right? Well, almost. Magneton comes out, but this time I have an additional trick up my sleeve. Digging to safety prevents Dat-Dak-6 from taking a potentially run-ending Zap Cannon as we resurface and pick up the kill. Finally, a string of good luck comes my way as 2 easy targets are sent out back to back. And just as I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, the colors of the champion's room getting clearer and clearer, everything quickly came crashing back down to reality. There he is. Standing in front of me was potentially the most threatening Pokemon in the entire seed, and like a true final boss, is the only thing between me and the champion. If Groudon had learned any good moves, I was done for. This close to the end, it was all about to come crumbling down.
Okay, we don't heal quite yet. We just spam Karate Chop for a few turns. Oh. What is this thing, dude? Okay, well now we can't really heal it. I don't think it's super scary, but like, oh my god. I don't even really want to heal on that. I'm just clicking Karate Chop, dude. Just get it out of my face. What in the world? Healing on a +5? Well, we figured out that it didn't have anything. It didn't have any sauce.
Somehow, he had done it. He was able to fell the ultimate beast. Only one fight remaining until Dat-Dak-6 was crowned a champion of the hardest Pokemon challenge. One fight left to cement his legacy as the final Dat-Dact. Never again do I have to play this stupid challenge to prove how easy it is once you get a Pokemon like Dat 6. Even then, the only difference between my winning Pokemon and the one who was destined to win but couldn't was the Elite Four luck. Had I run into 2 Metagross this time, Dat 6 might have met the exact same fate as Porygon 2. No matter how many rules you add, no matter how many changes you make, at its core, Kaizo Ironmon will always be the ultimate luck-based challenge. My brain was off for 99% of the run, just clicking Rock Slide over and over and over again. A challenge this randomized is not testing your Pokemon skills, but rather your patience. Anyone with enough time and patience will beat Kaizo Ironmon. It's just about pulling that lever until all the 7s match up. But who knows? Maybe you'll accomplish the true goal of the challenge and find yourself a new favorite Pokemon along the way.